Hi guys, so I'm here to make a video, my first one. So forgive me if I'm kind of fucking up my words and whatever, but this video is about a very important topic and one that needs to be discussed definitely more amongst our generation because it's hitting us the hardest, and that's cancer. And we all know people, we've all lost people to cancer, and we all know people who are battling cancer, and we all know how big of an issue it is, but the problem is that it's so preventable, and yet people aren't doing the lifestyle shifts that are required to not get it. And in fact, they're doing, living lifestyles that are promoting cancer and that are causing cancer. And like you look at, developing nations, and they don't have cancer. It's basically exclusive to first world nations. And I think, that says something right there. It's pretty obvious, two of the main differences between us and them, and that's obviously diet and exercise. A lot of the people in those countries are, they're moving and they're not sedentary. They're needing to work and do things that involve their body every single day, compared to us, where we can basically spend an entire day walking, for no more than a minute in the entire fucking day. So yeah, I mean, that's basically what I'd like to talk about right now is cancer, the mechanisms behind cancer, cause and prevention, and I guess of the different things that we can do to prevent it. The biggest one, diet. That's what I'd like to touch on, and that's second to exercise, but that could be a different video about exercise and how that plays a role in preventing cancer as well. But basically, so let's start with, what is cancer? I mean, we all kind of have a vague idea of what cancer is, but it's not, we're not educated on it formally, and we don't get taught it in layman's terms so that everybody can understand. But that needs to change, because it's honestly something that we can all understand. And I don't think it'd take that long to explain it. So I'm going to do my best here to explain the mechanisms behind cancer, kind of short and concise, and hope that I can kind of spread some information to some family or friends, and maybe inspire them to make some lifestyle changes. So, what is cancer? Cancer is initiated when our DNA is damaged. So every organ in our body, every part of us is made up of cells, and all of these cells contain DNA. And this DNA gets damaged every single day. So, when people say, oh, like whatever about, eating good or this or that, because, everything causes cancer. Well, there is some truth to that, in the sense that every single day, every minute that we're alive, our DNA is being damaged to some extent. Our cells are being damaged. Just breathing, just regular metabolism is causing damage to our cells and our DNA, and so is UVB radiation and the carcinogens that are in the air, and obviously, the biggest source of it, the carcinogens and, the bad compounds that are in the foods that we're eating primarily. So that's the biggest part of it. But so what happens is, we're causing damage every single day to our DNA, and this is where diet comes into play immensely, because it's unavoidable. You can't avoid the damage that leads to precancerous cells and eventually to cancer. But what you can do is you can change your lifestyle in ways such as diet and exercise and heat shock and cold shock, stress, which is a whole other topic we'll talk about another time. But mainly diet and exercise, these are things that will actually activate genes in your body to repair this damage. So there's a huge misconception people have that you're born with the genes that your parents gave you, and that's that. But that's not the case. We all have certain genes in our bodies that we all share, and the thing is, these genes can be expressed or they can not be expressed, and we have control over whether or not we express certain genes. So the genes that are good, the genes that are ones that are even referred to as tumor suppressor genes, these genes need to be activated. They aren't just always activated. And so one of the biggest ways that we can do this is diet, and that's why it plays such a fundamental and immense role in cancer prevention and the cause of cancer, because basically it's a double whammy. Basically, we're eating primarily these horrible diets of processed foods and sugars and high glycemic carbs and all these things that are causing inflammation and damage to our cells. And then to add insult to injury, we're not eating the cruciferous vegetables and the different things in our diet that will turn on these genes that will clean up that damage. So the whole name of the game is cleaning up the damage. We're going to get damage no matter what, but we need to clean the damage before that damage turns into cancer. So our cells have a short life, and so as we know, cells are replicating all the time in our body. And what happens is when there's too much damage to a particular cell, and it goes to replicate, there's damage to to a certain gene, or there's damage to the DNA in that cell. And so when it replicates, it can replicate with mutations, and that's it. Once you get the mutations, there's no going back. So what's important for us is that we clean up this damage before the mutations occur and before the cancer can occur. So the biggest part is it's diet. That's what it is, people. And the thing is like, we all know this. We all know that you got to eat good and blah blah blah, and this and that cause cancer. But the thing is, like, it's not given to us, and we're not educated in a way that makes it seem more understandable, and seem more, and in a way that makes it so we can realize the profound changes that we can make ourselves just through diet and through exercise. So it's just basically your cruciferous vegetables, so your kale, your cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, etc. Those are like the creme de la creme. They contain certain compounds, isocyanates and sulforaphane, which actually activate the tumor suppressor genes and activate antioxidant genes and anti-inflammation genes, and all these genes that are going to clean up the damage from everyday life. So if you're not getting a serving every day of these vegetables, you're probably deficient in magnesium and all these, and vitamin D and all these different vitamins and minerals that are what are required for for these genes to be expressed. Magnesium is one of the biggest ones. It's I think it's something like 60% of people in America, so presumably the Western world, are deficient in magnesium. And magnesium controls is a cofactor for 200 enzymes in the body that are cofactors for these genetic pathways that clean up the damage. So basically in a nutshell, it's diet, and it's eliminating the carbs, eliminating the processed foods and the sugar that are causing the damage, and replacing them with vegetables and healthy fats that are going to repair this damage and that are going to actually give nutrition to our bodies and sustain us, because the things we're eating are just absolute garbage. It's not like, it's the double whammy. And so I get that for people it's really hard to address this and change the habits. And a lot of people kind of they get on the wagon for a week, or they have a salad once in a while, and like whatever, they hope they're doing good. But this is why it's so difficult, is because it's getting off of a drug. Sugar plays on the same chemical pathways in the brain as cocaine and other stimulants and drugs, right? So when you're getting a sugar dose, you're getting a shot of dopamine in your brain, essentially, and so that's what you're addicted to. And so people say, oh well, it's only the shitty foods that taste good and blah blah blah. But it's just like people think it's only the cocaine that makes Friday night fun. But when you get off of it, and when you get past the addiction, then those cravings change, and you'll start to enjoy healthy foods. And furthermore, if you're doing these things to clean up your body, and you're active, and you're exercising, and you're eating vegetables, and you're doing all this good stuff, then there's no reason why you can't cheat once in a while too, right? And there's lots of healthy things that munchies and stuff too, that with a little bit of change and dedication, you can have great stuff that's healthy. I make cookies and things all the time that use honey instead of processed sugar, or that use fucking bananas and peanut butter instead of flour, or whatever. So this has turned in way longer of a rant than I wanted it to. So I think I'll cut the video short here. And if anyone wants to talk or discuss in more detail any of the sort of topics that I've touched on today, and whatever, I'd love to talk about it. Maybe leave your comments. I'd be surprised really if anyone even made it through this whole video. But if you have, and if it inspires you, or you want to talk about it anymore, then please let me know, because I would love to make more videos. And if there's anything in particular you want me to make a video about, then I'd love to do that too. I could go on for days about this stuff. And exercise is huge too. Basically, there's four pillars of positive genetic expression that I feel are essential and huge, and that's exercise, diet, cold shock and heat shock, stress. So I would love to get into those other topics too, but today it was basically just touching on the diet, because that's the biggest thing, and that's the thing that's really the biggest issue for our generation. And I want our generation to be the generation to make a shift and change our lifestyles and be healthy, and not pass on this lifestyle to our kids, and so that people will stop having cancer. And you know, they can't sell what we ain't buying. So if, you know, people aren't buying all the processed foods and the garbage and all that shit, then it's going to be, there'll be less of it. They're not going to be selling it. So, you know, my dream would be that one day you walk into a grocery store and instead of it being, you know, like a little section of organic foods and then the rest just aisles and aisles of processed packaged high glycemic sugary chemical fucking garbage, you know, there'll be more vegetables, there'll be more organic stuff, there'll be more stuff because, you know, supply and demand, people will want it. And that comes with a shift in perspective of our lifestyles and what's important to us. So I hope this video, you know, maybe shed some light on this topic a little bit for some people, and if it inspires anyone to, you know, whatever, try to eat a bit healthier or change their lifestyle, then, you know, it's worth it. So anyways, I just felt like, you know, I was obligated to finally talk about this a little bit, and so yeah, can't believe do it again. Thanks, guys.